As someone that gave loot boxes a little bit of slack when I bought Overwatch loot boxes thinking, oh, it's just cosmetic, it's not a big deal. I see now just how slippery of a slope it was.
Ooh, just go ahead and say it, because I was like, oh man, that's a bitch move.
Ever. Now you were right.
Yes! Yes! Oh! We got some interesting news coming from first of all, not a gaming company.
Yeah.
And they are jumping in and say, you know what? We need to protect these gamers. We need to, make sure that all these people that are out there enjoying video games, they're doing it fair and in a nice legal way where we don't have to worry about people getting taken advantage of, people with addictions, people with issues, or just, somebody spending someone else's money, like a child spending a parent's money and not knowing what they're doing. Now, you're asking, where did all this controversy come from, and who is the person that's stepping in to help protect us gamers? Well, we owe a lot of this to the franchise that has had such a great year, and of course, I'm talking about Star Wars. Yes, the franchise has had such a great time this year.
Yeah.
Of course, they put out Battlefront, which it just flew off the shelves and nobody had a problem with.
Into the garbage.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, Star Wars came out. Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out, and a lot of people had issues with it. And then, of course, we had the Star Wars movie that came out, which everybody loved. There wasn't any kind of issues. Nobody had any problems with it. Everybody had a good time with Star Wars The Last Jedi. You saw this man on Stardust. He was out there flexing how much he loved it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It's a very divisive movie.
Obviously, we all have different opinions up here on Star Wars. Gertz apparently loved the hell out of it, gave it a low full price.
I didn't love it.
He loved the hell out of it, a low full price. Coleman and Martin gave it a matinee, and Sam gave it a matinee, and of course I came in, Mr. Holier Than Thou, Mr. His opinion. He's just being a contrarian.
Did you give it a rental?
I gave it a rental.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't come in like this is some more bullshit. It's a rental.
I was gonna say I don't think you didn't sound like venomous about it.
But yes, Star Wars, and of course the game that came out this year with all the venom that kind of came from it. I'm talking about, of course, Star Wars Battlefront 2. It had a big release this year. A lot of people were looking forward to it, and of course, there were just a few things, or just one main thing that pissed people off. Oh, excuse me, I'll verbalize this right. There were multiple things stacked on top of each other that made people a little pissy about it.
Yeah, there were multiple things stacked onto other multiple things with a dash of some more multiple things that went wrong with this release.
Yeah, it didn't go well. EA kind of had to, come out and issue an apology, and they also got a stern talking to from Mr. Disney. That mouse had to step in and say, "What the hell are you doing?"
Listen, God damn it!
Yeah.
Just got off the phone with Ryan Johnson after seeing his shit. You guys are fucking us up.
Yeah, that's basically what happened with EA. But of course, one of the big things that came out of it, not having to grind your way to unlock all these characters, or the lack of a ending for the story mode. One of the issues that came out from it was loot boxes, and of course, with loot boxes, things come into play, especially when it's Star Wars loot boxes. With other franchises, they tend to shy away from making them, things in your loot boxes increase the way you play or increase your chances of unlocking characters or things like that. Mm-hmm. However, Star Wars did not take that route. They decided, you know what? We're not giving you Vader. You got to pay to unlock this motherfucker.
Yeah.
We're not giving you this. You gotta grind your ass off. You're gonna give us money. So basically, you're spending real world money to earn stuff that you could earn, but they know you're not going to take the time to do that.
Yeah, Star Wars is like a double-edged sword with its ability to turn people into children, because the positive side is, it makes you have fun and reminisce about the good times you had. It's just that kind of old-timey feeling.
Right.
The other end of it is it turns you into a kid again because you're a sucker.
Yeah, you're getting got.
Yeah, you will buy and go out of your way to get these things that you're essentially being conned to get. And that's what Battlefront 2 did. Yeah,
and then like we said, there are plenty of other games out there that do not do the same thing when it comes to unlocking loot boxes. Prime example, I know y'all tired of hearing us praising this game, but hey, it's praiseworthy. Overwatch. Again, they just released something. It's a whole bunch of loot boxes, and you get a whole bunch of skins, new emotes, a whole bunch of fun stuff. Everybody's having a good time, and it doesn't feel like you're getting robbed when you're playing the game. Or if you decide to turn around and decide to spend a couple ducats on some loot boxes again. I don't know what monster and Grinch gear would do that, but it happens. It happens. And let me ask you, when you bought your loot boxes, did you feel like, oh, I wasted my money? I wasted $5-20, however much you spent.
In retrospect, yes. I mean, it's been a while since I think the last time I bought loot boxes for Overwatch. I think it was during the first Summer Olympics event.
Okay.
It was either that or the first Halloween event. At the time, I didn't. I was like, yeah, I like this game. I'm fine with supporting them. But now, just seeing how out of control loot boxes have gotten, I'm fine with them being something you win in game. But the fact that they're selling them for real money, now looking back on it, it's like, man, I was a sucker. I can't do that shit anymore.
You got got.
Yeah, exactly.
You are part of the problem, sir. But no, like we said, some people they're fine spending a couple dollars or a dollar here and there to get some clothes or skins or something like that. But when it comes to gameplay, a lot of people were upset, and of course, the biggest, the biggest, I guess, infractor of that this year would be Star Wars. With their microtransactions, it went out of control. Keep in mind, we're not saying Star Wars is the only franchise that's doing this, the only game that's done this. Candy Crush has been doing it since day one. Basically, most mobile games have been doing this since day one.
Yeah.
And they kind of started this trend, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, granted, a lot of those are free to play, so people are able to make that jump logically, I guess. It seems more forgivable when it's a game that's free to play. It's like, yeah, I don't mind dropping some money for a chance to get something. I don't mind gambling to support this game. But with a game like Battlefront 2, and to a lesser extent Overwatch, we paid $60 for this game.
Yeah,
this is a full price game.
Yeah, you're right.
And
like, if it's free to play, you don't mind spending a couple bucks. But if it's a $60 game and you paid that money and you're paying on top of it, you're going to be a little sour when it comes at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I understand people being upset about that. And one word that Gertz threw in there that I found just seems to resonate with gamers and some people out there that aren't really gamers that are trying to protect us and our fellow kin are the word gambling. You said it feels like you're taking a gamble on, all right, am I going to get something good or something bad?
Yeah, you're not buying content, you're buying a chance to get content, or at least the content that you want.
So yeah, it's again, this is something that's been a little bit in the news recently. We got people out there all over the world, Australia, Europe, but one was a state that was here in our own great US of A. Well, not the continental US of A, but down in Hawaii, they were saying, you know what? You're basically gambling. This is a Star Wars casino, and we all remember the casino scene that we all love so much in Star Wars: The Last Jedi. All those people who love that casino scene out there in the world.
Man, stop!
No, it's a full price movie. Casino scene is great. Yeah.
Don't you put those words in my mouth.
Okay. But basically everybody said, or excuse me, these Hawaiian legislators came out and said, you know what, this is not right. These microtransactions are getting out of control, and these loot boxes are basically just a new form of way to get money out of our kids and have them gamble.
This game is a Star Wars themed online casino designed to lure kids into spending money. It's a trap.
It's a trap. Wait. What? Let me hear that again. What was it? Because I remember there was a scene in the movie, right? What was it again?
This game is a Star Wars themed online casino.
I want somebody to edit that in and say casino, and then they pull up the scene from Finn and Rose, casino. Yeah. Star Wars, they know what they doing. they know what they doing with this goddamn. Everybody hates anything casino related with Star Wars right now, but this guy is right. It's an online casino, basically to get money out of our kids, and he said it is a trap. It's a trap. People were concerned about that, and of course, when people get concerned, people start getting a little outraged. A little mob mentality can happen. Now, for all you youngins out there, you may not remember a time before the ESRB. There was a time before that. You used to not have little ratings on your boxes that say, rated M for mature, or T for teen, or E for everyone. Or what's the other one? It's like 10 plus or something.
I think it's like KA or something like that. But yeah, it's like for kids 10 and over or something like that. Yeah,
it's like Barney or Barbie's Horse Adventure, things like that. Yeah. Those games that you ain't going to be playing really. You can play for like 5 minutes and then put it down.
Yeah.
So we have those ratings. And I don't know if you remember, good old Mortal Kombat, when that came out, everybody was like, all right, we might need to regulate this before the government steps in and starts messing with our shit.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest concerns. Prime example, the MPAA, the people who rate movies, they also had to step in because they feared that the government was going to come in and start regulating their industry, which means they're going to start regulating their money and regulating the content that they're able to put out. Now, what's up?
Oh, nothing. I'm just pondering something.
Yeah, you were like, I saw you fold your arms.
Yeah.
I was like, is that a signal? Should I say something?
I'm just thinking.
Stop that. But now you're saying, all right, one of the issues is we have a legislator right here from Hawaii saying that this is gambling and that we need to put a stop to this. And they were obviously proposing to have the government step in and, write some laws about what we could do with microtransactions and loot boxes and things like that.
Yeah.
And this guy's heart is 100% in the right place. This is Chris Lee. He is a legislator out in Hawaii. And yeah, his heart is 100% in the right place. He wants to have something to where gamers can be protected when it comes to buying things, and also so children don't become little mini gambling addicts from playing like Star Wars.
Yeah, and when you watch the whole video, he makes the comparison to Joe Camel with cigarettes, how Joe Camel was stopped through government action. It was pretty much decreed, that shit's not okay. This is clearly targeting children.
Right.
You cannot do this. And I think it's a valid comparison for sure.
Yeah, it's 100% valid.
Yeah.
But now you're saying, oh no, listen, I think it could be good for, it could help us gamers if somebody steps in and says, you know what, you can't really do loot boxes like this. This isn't fair. You're taking money from us. Microtransactions are basically kind of robbing us or making us pay multiple times, like Gert said, for something that we've already paid for. Like, this content should be ours. It should be free for us.
Yeah.
However, again, this is coming from a very unlikely source. Again, like how the movie industry decided to step in and regulate their own things with giving the movies ratings, like the video game industry stepped in with the ESRB, started giving themselves ratings. A very unlikely force, I think they could be called, or unlikely business, came in and said, you know what? We need to put a stop to this because this is going to hurt our money, and I don't like that. And all y'all thinking right now, oh my God, is it EA? Fuck no, it's not EA. EA is the ones that are doing this.
Yeah.
It's like hiring Kevin Spacey to talk about sexual harassment. It's like, no, why would we do this? Like, no, but people, the company out there that has your best interest in heart, the company that surprisingly is stepping up to do this. I did not see this coming. Gertz informed me of this last night while he was calling me by my name or his name. But
Gertz, you got to see this.
It was weird. It was so weird. But no, with this unlikely company who has done a few iffy things in the past happens to be Apple. Apple has stepped in, and they are now requiring for anybody that puts games up on their mobile their mobile platform. I believe what's the iStore, right?
Yeah, on the Apple
iTunes
Store.
Yeah, the iStore. So anybody that jumps in or goes to goes onto their phones or goes through their MacBooks or anything like that goes to buy something online through Apple, if it's a game like Candy Crush or anything else that has microtransactions or loot boxes, especially if they have loot boxes, Apple is requiring them to provide the information on how often you can win certain things. So prime example, if you had let's just throw this out there, if you had Overwatch on your Apple device, and you're like, wow, what's the chance that I could get that owl skin on the right, Anna's new skin? What's the probability of me getting that? Apple, which would have the information from Blizzard, who makes the game, would tell you have a 5% chance, or a 2% chance, or a 3% chance. So it's no longer it's still gambling, but they're letting you know your probabilities. Now, what do you think about this, guys?
I think some transparency here is definitely good, because it makes loot boxes less alluring. It takes away some of the sheen away from them, because you're seeing them for what they are. So I like this change. I do think Apple's doing it because they see the writing on the wall. And I think you're right in that it's kind of like the ESRB, where it's the business trying to regulate itself so government action isn't taken. But this is one of those instances, man, where I don't want the business regulating itself.
The fuck was that? No, it's all right. I do it all the time. Go for it.
I don't want the company that was profiting off these loot boxes to regulate these loot boxes. That seems like a conflict of interest to me. I mean, like with the ESRB and the rating thing, I'm okay with that a little bit more so than them trying to regulate loot boxes, because I didn't think those games were being predatory. It's just Mortal Kombat is a violent fighting game.
Right.
It's not really preying upon anybody. Some people might feel that way, but people aren't losing anything. It's like walking in on your kid watching a dirty movie and they shouldn't be. It's like, well, what the kid isn't losing anything. They're losing their innocence. Shut up. They're not losing anything. They're not being taken advantage of.
You can't put a price on innocence there.
Yes,
God,
you can.
Damn. What are you doing to people?
But yeah, like with the loot boxes, it is taking advantage of people or in ways that the actual content in games, you may not feel it's appropriate for kids, but I don't see it as taking advantage or being predatory towards kids. So I do think they're trying to do that same thing. While I was okay with that with the ESRB, I'm not sure I'm okay with it with loot boxes. I feel like there needs to be regulation from an outside source, just saying, I mean, ideally, they shouldn't be allowed anymore. We've seen what happens. Like, as someone that gave loot boxes a little bit of slack when I bought Overwatch loot boxes thinking, oh, it's just cosmetic, it's not a big deal. I see now just how slippery of a slope it was. We wouldn't have had Battlefront 2 if it weren't for Overwatch.
So who was right? Just go ahead and say it, because I was like, oh man, that's a bitch move. I think I was right. You know what I'm saying? I was like, don't spend money on Pokeballs and all these other things.
I will never, ever. Now you were right.
Yes! Oh!
No, you were absolutely right about this.
Oh, Lord, I need to change of pants. Thank you.
Well, it is Christmas, so you might get something, pant-wise.
Oh my.
Not like that.
You heard it here first, everybody. Hey! Spontaneous neck. But yes, people, I think, let me ask you this. Do you think it's a step in the right direction?
Yes.
Because, I mean, honestly, is Apple stepping into, like you said, they're even though they profited off of having loot boxes and microtransactions, they are trying to step in and regulate it. So do you think this is maybe just a halfway stopping point? What more would you like to see? Like, would you rather have another entity come in? Because most likely, if another group comes in, they're still going to be funded by Apple anyway, or funded by another group, or still have their ties or their pockets being lined by the big industry, the movers in the industry.
That's true, yeah, and that could create another conflict of interest. I do think it is a step in the right direction. I just don't want people to see it as the end all be all solution, and I think that might be something that Apple might have in mind, because it's smart for them to do this. It's saving face for sure, and it makes them look a little bit more proactive, even though they are actually being reactive to the controversy. But they are the one company right now taking steps saying, okay, by doing this, they're kind of saying, or at least indicating, that loot boxes in a way aren't okay. I mean, there is a predatory element to there. And in a way, it's kind of admitting that. Right. Which I do think is a good thing. I don't think it's perfect, but hey, I'll take it. Yeah. I hope more is done down the line, because we've seen how out of control it's become now, and I in a perfect world, I just don't think they should be allowed anymore. I would even be okay with like Overwatch just selling these skins straight up in a microtransaction. Like, that wouldn't bother me that much. But the fact that you're just buying a chance to get these items, that's what bothers me. Like a game like League of Legends or even Pokemon Go, with those microtransactions, you knew what you were getting. Right. I'm buying some Pokeballs. I'm buying this skin for a character in League of Legends. With Overwatch or Battlefront 2, who knows what you're buying?
That's very true. Yeah. And I think I agree with majority of what you said. I don't have a problem with Apple coming in and doing it, because they aren't really the people who are making the loot boxes. True. They're like, not. If this was like EA stepping in and saying, yeah we're going to monitor our loot box, like, man, fuck y'all. Like, yeah, that's a good point. I know this is bullshit. But it's Apple. They're they're not the drug farmers, they're the sellers, I guess. I don't know. Like, I feel like they're kind of the middlemen, and they're a stopgap right now.
Yeah.
I think they're doing something that's in the right direction, and yeah, it does seem like it's going to be a good look, and I think it's going to go well for the gaming industry and people who especially play on mobile wise.
Yeah.
You will see, you're going to get what you want in your loot boxes, but you'll also know the probability of going in, so you're not going to turn around and buy 50 loot boxes and think, oh, well, I'm definitely going to get that thing I want. You're going to have your percentages there and be like, all right, I know I got half a percentage to get Vader or whatever the hell I want. So yeah, I feel like it's a step in the right direction. I do think that Apple is going to be, hopefully, they will be proactive. I know they're being very reactive right now, like you said, but I feel like they're going to be a little bit more proactive along the lines, because they do see that this is hurting their consumer base, and most likely it is hurting their money. Yeah. So I think they're going to turn around and most likely be a force for good, as we talk about Star Wars, a force for good. But it could go another way. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, when Apple released a new phone, and they had a little event starring our everyone's favorite band from Ireland, U2. And they put that god-awful album on everybody's phones that nobody wanted. It came on, it was free. It didn't hurt anybody, but it was just like Apple kind of stepping in and overstepping their boundaries, and it pissed a lot of people off.
That's understandable.
So, yeah, it's understandable. Do you think that has the ability to be to happen the same way here too? Some people will say, just get out of EA's business or these other people's business, because that's not your job. I don't have a problem with not knowing what I'm going to get.
I think it would be an issue if EA was well liked.
Okay.
But they're not.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Apple, I mean, you could argue that, they don't have people's best interests at heart here, but they, in no way do they look like the bad guy.
Right.
Just for the sake of comparison. I mean, look, when they're going up against EA.
Right, yeah.
It's like anyone can look good against them, and I think Apple does look good here.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Apple, I love you guys. You've always... you've done some very, very bullshitty things.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, but you've also done some good things, and you've also done things that give me nightmares. Like I brought up, our good old band from Ireland, U2, that was put on everybody's iPhone that did not want it. But I have another problem with Apple and U2. This takes me back. 13 years, 15 miles, 13 years. 13 years ago, I had a little department store job. I was working at Target for you rich folk, or you bougie folk. And they released a commercial, and I worked in the electronics department when this commercial came out, and it played every 8 minutes. Now, to this day, this gives me nightmares, and I feel like, I should introduce you all to my hellscape nightmare. People, if you don't remember this is from 2004, again, 13 years ago. Wow, so long ago. And this commercial still haunts me to this day. Why? Fuck you, Apple, for that. Now, I wonder if they're going to... have it be when now every time you buy a loot box, they gives you a U2 song. That'd be dope. God. That'd be dope. And I'd be so mad, but it'd be so fun to do.
I would love if they did that, because nothing would kill loot boxes faster.
Yeah.
They would just vanish. Oh, God, no.
Yeah, man.
No.
It'll be a nightmare. But yeah, God damn you, YouTube. Please don't ever get involved with Apple again, and vice versa. You guys are dope, but no. Stop, please. You still scare me.
I always think of South Park now whenever I hear Bono.
He's 3.5 curricks.
Like him walking down a starving village.
Yeah. God damn it, YouTube. Yes, people, we are now out of saying congratulations to Apple. I think Apple, this is one of the few times where we could say good job. You're doing something that can turn around and actually help people. So yeah, I mean, you're still having Chinese children make your computers and phones, but this is a good step for us, right?
Yeah.
Right.
God damn it.